we're now going to create our first project, which actually uses Kotlin. So I'm using IntelliJ IDEA here. I'm going to be using it throughout the entire course. So let's go into create new project and see what we get. Okay, so you can see that we're making essentially a Java application, but there is a possibility of adding Kotlin support here as well. And also you should have your SDK specified already. In my case, I'm using Java 1.8, although Kotlin can target down to 1.6, which is great. You can also specify how you want the runtime libraries to be handled. Actually, this isn't optional. Kotlin comes with runtime libraries and you need to decide how you're going to include them. One possibility is to press the create button here and simply get the runtime libraries copied to a folder called lib, or indeed any other folder that you specify. So after I press OK, the appropriate files are going to be copied. If you want to find out what files are going to be copied, you can press configure here and you can see what the actual jars are and what they consist of. I'm just going to go with the defaults here. I'm not going to change anything. So let's press next. Now we need to specify the project name, let's say Kotlin samples, and we're essentially good to go. So you can see some output messages here on the fact that some runtimes were copied to the appropriate folder. If we now open up the project structure, by the way, the green pop-ups down below are done using a plugin called Presentation Assistant, which is done exclusively for your benefit, so you can see what buttons I'm pressing as I'm doing things, even though this isn't an IntelliJ IDEA course. All right, so here's the structure of our project. You have Kotlin samples. Inside that you have the IDEA folder with a bunch of settings and whatever, and then you have the lib folder, which is where the Kotlin runtime actually resides. So that's where the files were copied, and they're going to be needed if you deploy your Kotlin application somewhere. And finally, we have the SRC folder. So what we can do now is we can right click it and go into new, and you'll see that in addition to being able to add ordinary Java files, you can also add Kotlin files. So let's add a Kotlin file called hello, and this is going to be the proverbial hello world example. So I'll get rid of the comments that were auto-generated here. By the way, you can customize the Kotlin template just as you would with a Java template. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a function called main with a bunch of arguments defined as an array of strings. Array of string. There we go. All right, and here I'm going to print line hello Kotlin. Right. So you can already see that there are a couple of things missing compared to ordinary Java. There is no package declaration, there is no class surrounding this function, and still it's all going to work, amazingly enough. So let's actually run this. I'm going to go into run. I'll choose run here, and you'll see that even though we didn't make any configurations and we don't have a class surrounding our main, we don't have a package, we already have a configuration called hello KT. That's taken from the name hello.kt of our file, and we can use this configuration like so to actually compile and run our application. IntelliJ IDEA basically made the configuration for us, so we don't have to concern ourselves with this. Okay, so we get the output here in the command line, hello Kotlin, just as we wanted. You'll notice that we also now have an out folder where the actual class file is generated. So this is how easy it is to actually get started and create your minimal application. We'll certainly be working with this same project throughout our entire journey in Kotlin, and just going to be adding more files and using more configurations.